Namaste. Welcome to the Embrace Summit. Hello, I'm Sianna Sherman, and this is an exploration and an adventure with yoga, voice, and emotions. And we're here to activate the power of our voice and with the practices of yoga and to embrace the whole of our journey as sacred, authentic, and intimate with the whole of our being. Thank you for gathering. Thank you for showing up. And thank you to my beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous sister and friend, teacher, mentor, guide, Anaiya Sophia. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, bless you, Sienna. It's always a privilege to be right here with you.
And I love you so much. And I love Anaiya Sophia with all my being, and is just such an inspiration for me for feeling deeply and being the living transmission and the living flame of love here on the planet. So thank you. I'm really grateful that you're here with us on this summit. And I'd like for us all to have a moment together with our breath. And if you wish to bring your hands to prayer, to Anjali Mudra, and rest your awareness in the flow of your breath. And visualize a grounding cord down from your hips, your belly, your sacrum, your roots, down through your legs, your knees, your feet, and down into the earth. And this beautiful grounding cord connecting all of us right where we are in this moment with the energy and the electromagnetic field of Mother Earth down into the center. And as we connect through this grounding cord, let's open up the inner effulgence of our being. Allow our spine to rise up, and a shimmer of gratitude and kindness and a smiling energy opening up in every cell of our being with just thank you for all of us finding each other. Thank you, Great Spirit, for the privilege and the honor of this life. Thank you for the kindness and the mystery and the creativity and the embodied wisdom that is being shared in this summit. May each of us feel welcomed home to our own heart and to the embrace of our life as holy and as sacred. So many blessings to each of you. Namaste. So beautiful, Sister Anaiya Sophia, her theme for this embrace gathering is embracing menopause, feminine mystery and power. And here's a little bit about Anaiya, but there's so much more. Anaiya Sophia is an independent mystic of an almost forgotten faith, author and a teacher of Kundalini Yoga. She carries an oral transmission that stirs the remembrance of the Sophia, Isis, Magdalene lineage. This mystical tradition is a continuous lineage with the feminine principle that throughout the centuries has preserved its spiritual dignity without a need for permission or recognition from any other source. She recognizes the need for initiation and uses the mythical intelligence of her years to orchestrate those rites of passage. Her methods carry the hallmarks of a mystic so unmistakable in today's sugar-coated world of partial truth and placating love. Her ferocious allegiance to direct experience and radical revelation imparts a wisdom that inflames you. Her recent book, Fierce, Fierce Feminine, addresses the obstacles of silence, conditioning, and programming that attempt to maintain slavery to a system that is destroying the earth and our minds. She realizes that true liberation from this influence is unearthed through sacred relationship and how our greatest gift is in gathering and receiving one another's awakening codes. In her book, she addresses head on the many challenges that stand in our way to authentically awaken and the inner alchemy to overcome them. Jai, Anaiya, let's go for it. Dive right in with you and why this theme and at this time and what you feel is just so potent for our times right now.
Well, I mean, the theme of this conversation is very much, I wanted to speak about menopause. I'm in menopause. I've decided, by the grace of God, that I'm going to do the whole thing absolutely natural. No HRT, no nipping, no tucking, no nothing. And I want to go into this whole experience with my pen and my journal, because I want to be able to unearth what is actually happening here, what is available to us, and to just pull back that stone and find out what could this mean to our generation now. Because previously, women have been approaching the menopause and they're very tired, they're very worn out from copious amounts of children and larger families and a different generation. But we in our 50s are very much alive and almost, raising our sails for this second wind that we feel is coming. And there's a maturity and there's a power. Our diet is so much cleaner. And of course with yoga. So we're far, far from putting our feet up and heading into those retirement years. And that is why I'm so excited about this journey. There's a heck of a lot of energy that is available within the body. We've been calling it hot flushing or hot flashing. To me, this feels exactly like Kundalini. So I'm still a baby, but I'm starting to be really, really excited about this.
I feel it. It's the surge of the Shakti all the way through you. It's like a lightning feeling. Thank you. And I thank you for choosing this theme too. And I think that this is going to be just, it's so wanted to be speaking in an open and real way about this, because there's so much shame and like trying to make it as if it doesn't exist, or to find ways to get around it instead of just embracing and moving right through it and with it and taking in all the extraordinary amounts of wisdom. Like that red river is turning in and a crowning glory of new kind of Shakti and wisdom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But by golly, there are some thresholds that we have to cross, and they're horrible and they're ugly and they're uncomfortable. And I believe absolutely it's a whole set of thought forms that this old patriarchal world has created. A fear of the younger woman being a big one. That was the first thing I came head on into. Many emotional minefields. But what I want to say to the ladies is, see it for what it is. See it for what it is. It's a mask. It's a puppet. It's not real. It's a thought form. It's something you're being coerced into feeling and getting stuck at. Pay attention to your body. Feel the power that's rising. Don't worry what's going on out there. Concentrate on what's going on in here, and you will soar like a phoenix out of the ashes. And I must say, I'm a couple of years into this now. I know this to be true. Don't stumble at those first hurdles. Turn it into grace. Turn it into grace. Bestow beauty upon youth.
And I speak to our brothers, because we have a lot of men in the summit too, and speak to our brothers about the embrace of this rites of passage as well.
The first thing I want to say is, beloved brothers, please be patient. Please be compassionate. This is huge. This is such a deep unearthing of the feminine. And bear with us as we literally transfigure and transform before your very eyes. Know that if you're in close union with us, if you're in a love relationship with us, you too can be suffused by this energy. The internal environment of our bodies is different now. And by the power of love, we will share that openly with you. And again, previously, the men would have sort of stepped back when a lady is in menopause and like, oh, let's just leave her alone. And so we don't know what it's like to journey with the masculine. What is it like to take this journey with a brother in intimacy, in physicality, in the spiritual quest? This is new. This is radical. Let it not be something that's hushed up and, oh, this is women's business. No, this is community business. Because this woman is coming, she's finding her voice. She's finding her solid, sacred ground. And she wants to hold your hand in that process. And together, the two of you can be a king and a queen of community, rather than a prince and a princess.
I'm right even before you said that, I was having this vision, of planetary consciousness at this time, and the evolution that we're in is calling all the men and the women, the brothers and the sisters together, really as, temple keepers and holding the flame of love in a big way, and to be side by side through these rites of passages. And so that I was just seeing so much, as you often when you speak, I see worlds and worlds unfolding and flying through the dimensions with you. Can you speak about how the embrace culturally of menopause, specifically on the planets at this time, for you, how it's linked with the bigger changes that are happening, the dismantling of old paradigms, the stepping into a new evolution of consciousness, like how you see this all together, what's happening in your world and then what's happening on the planet right now?
I think the most astonishing thing I felt and am now living is this. It's like a huge gateway into nature opened right up, more than I'd ever imagined. And remember, I live in the French Pyrenees, so I'm not in the cities. I keep out of the cities. And this gateway gave me permission to feel the blood and the heartbeat and the rhythms and the patterns of the natural world. And that is the most astonishing thing that this menopause has done. I've turned so far from the external world and retreated deeply into nature. And it's all there. It's all there. The medicine is there. The wisdom is there. The healing is there. The purification is there. And that's about all I can say at the moment, because it's still so fresh. If you're not interacting with nature in this way, knowing that this is holy ground, this is sacred space, this is where we find our medicine, this is where we find our prayer and our peace. It's all there. And I don't know what it's like for everyone else, but there seems to be a urgent coming forward to meet the human being. Not a desperation, but an excited urgency to meet with that human being.
Beautiful. Anaiya, we're already like swimming in a beautiful portal together and hearing some of your personal story as well. Is there a specific personal story that you'd like to share with us in this theme of embrace and the transformation in your life? And everything that you're speaking about is that, but is there anything very specific that you want to share with us right now?
One of the personal stories is the afternoon I accessed my sacred rage, only because a very reputable Irish seer um, drew my attention to something that was in my gut. And she was looking at it with her mediumistic eyes. And she was saying, I'm not happy with this. I'm really concerned with what it is that's in your solar plexus. I advise you to seek out an opportunity to access this rightful anger, rage inside of you. And you must do this. She said, don't put this to one side. You must ask for this to happen and release fully and completely. And maybe I told you this story personally. So Pete, bless him, stepped in and said, I will be your surrogate. Whoever it is you're imagining, I will be that one. And so we tried, and I laughed, and it didn't work. 2 weeks later, we did it again, and we tried, and this time I cried because he frightened me and it didn't work. And so on the third go, once I was with my 2 sacred girlfriends, we found ourselves, well, you know where we live, up high in the ruins of an old Templar chateau. And when I realized where I was, that level of brotherhood was absolutely standing behind me, in support, totally at my back. And I was with my 2 sacred girlfriends. Pete was with me too. I was up high. No one could possibly walk past us. And so I just allowed and prayed for Kali to come through me and released that pent-up disappointment, anger, resentment, whatever, the whole thing in a barrage of sound and in intonement, whilst literally being on all fours right on a cliff edge. And that was the beginning of Fierce Feminine. I was so afraid to do that because I thought if I really let this out, it's so massive, it's so huge, that I'm going to end up an ugly, wicked, crazed person. But what it actually did was release this capstone from true voice and creativity with that voice, of that voice. So that's the message. Don't be afraid of that secret thing inside of you. Once released, it brings treasure every time.
And so then this is giving birth and has given birth to Fierce Feminine.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your most recent book.
Well, Fierce Feminine began as an external journey into what is really happening upon our planet. Things such as overpopulation, overproduction, the meat and dairy industry. But it soon started to take a parallel path. So whilst I was researching out there, realizing exactly the same domain is happening in here. And that, you know, we may be bombarded with pollutants and toxins in the outside world, but there is also pollutants and toxins, and not just from our own minds, but influences that we could say that come up from Gnostic space, deep influences that have always been influencing the human mind. So now I found myself straddling the outside and the inside, and how the Fierce Feminine was required to take this journey in us all, an external fierce voice and an internal fierce voice. And remembering, of course, that fierce is not angry, not at all. Fierce is just absolute. It's just no. And so as I was tracking the external cleanup act, I was tracking the internal cleanup act. So the whole thing turned into this hologram before my very eyes. And as fierce as I was being equals as deeply loving and compassionate I was being. So it's like, it's a meeting of opposites. It was a gorgeous and incredible process, because as I was writing it, this voice was saying, you cannot write this the way you wrote your other books. Linear, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. No, it's all random. It's all random. You don't sit down at 10 o'clock in the morning and come away at 7 in the evening. It's going to be 15 minutes here, an hour there. It's going to be 3 o'clock at night. And at the beginning, I thought, I can't possibly work in this way. I can't trust this kind of spontaneity. But Sienna, I did. And you know what? I finished a month early. I finished earlier than my usual planned, logistical, step-by-step approach. Amazing. And that's because I trusted that voice.
What encouragement can you have to all the friends who are listening right now and tuning in with us about trusting their inner voice?
Oh my gosh, this is paramount. It is absolutely paramount that we at least aim for 50% of us active and present constantly on the inside, and 50% on the outside. That's bare minimum. What we really could aim for, I don't know, 80-20? 80% always awake, always vigilant, always discerning on the inside, sat in deep essence, surrounded by presence, looking out into the world, but knowing that you're looking out into the world rather than getting lost and occasionally going in for a bit of respite when things are really, really bad. So that would be my first thing to say for 2019.
Great.
Develop your awareness on the inside as a paramount position of authority and beingness.
Thank you, Anaiya. I feel this is a beautiful moment to come into an embodied practice with you as you wish to share with us.
Well, I would love to bring your attention to someone called John O'Donoghue. He's not with us anymore.
Do you know that I met John O'Donoghue at the Well of Bridget in Kildare in my 20s?
Oh,
he's a
my
huge
God.
force in my life. There's a whole, I'll tell you the story someday, but amazing, outrageous force in my life.
Oh God, every hair is now standing on attention. This man captures reality in his words, in his poems, in his presence. I've been listening to him all day whilst walking in nature. So if I was to put a prayer out right now, beloved Mother, Father God, your joyful, warm, generous healing is all around us at all times. And in this moment, I absolutely know this to be true. May the shelter that you always offer us be with everyone who is listening right now. And in this silent space, may they come into contact with that within them that is bursting to come through them this year on behalf of the all. For you are the all, the absolute, and the only. Amen.
Amen. what is like super lit up in your heart right now? Like what's really alive and juicy and inspiring you in your life at this time?
What is totally floating my boat at the moment? This year, at the end of this year, but this year I'm going to be 50. And I'm very excited and very proud and really looking forward to stepping into that. And I'm going to spend the whole of this year, the whole of 2019, really bringing every tool that's in my little kit out onto the table. I want to cleanse. I want to heal. I want to invigorate. I want to be in a place of deep, powerful, wild, transformative prayer. I want to dance. All of it. There is suddenly this huge hunger inside of me. I've done this once before. When I turned 35, I had this wild period of deep cleansing and detoxing and purifying and fasting and silence. And I did it once again in my 40s. But this one has to be the creme de la creme. This one is in honor. This is an investment of my 50th and my journey through that next decade. So I'm just consumed with this passion to just apply everything I've gathered over these years.
Well, I so look forward to everything that comes bursting through you in this next decade and plus, 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 plus. Anaiya, there's so many offerings that you have in the world, and I'm really grateful that you're part of the weaving of my life, and especially with the offerings with the women and the way of ritual and priestess. Thank you so much for that. And also for Rasa Yoga and being a guest presenter in our online school. And I'm so grateful for that. And the things that we have coming up too, and what we're planning with the Mary Magdalene pilgrimage together. And so grateful for that. And then there is just an infinity of possibilities of ways to connect and study with you. So can you share some ways for our friends to come be with you, or through online and also through your books too?
Well, one of the first ways of meeting me, if you like, is through the transmissions. And there is just a growing number. It just keeps growing. And talking of transmissions, I'd like to just quickly mention this one. At the moment, I'm in my parents' house in the UK, and a few nights ago, we watched this movie called Philomena, which is about the Magdalene laundries of Ireland. And I've seen a couple of documentaries on this, and of course, it touches me deeply and makes me angry and tearful. But this one went really deep. And I spoke to my father about it afterwards because he's Irish. And he said, yes, there was a Magdalene laundry where I lived in Waterford. And me mammy, that's his mum, me mammy would send me down to pick up the laundry every week. Now something happened when he said that. My internal world just kind of ricocheted. Now I knew that our family is close, and of course it's even closer than that. I know that I don't know it, I intuit it. So I'm going to see an old Magdalene laundry on Monday. I started to Google, where are they? There just happens to be one 20 minutes from here. So on the 22nd of January, 22 being a Mary Magdalene number, I'm going to go there. It's now a care home. I'm going to ask to go in and walk the corridors and the dormitories and all those places and lay roses. Just lay roses all over the place, holy water, and bring joy. I want to recognize and honor all the women. So the girls, the women, the babies, and the nuns. So I really want to bring that one through. It's like, yes, I'm very excited about my 50th, all of that, but then there's also this. And this is huge. And this is so personally meaningful for me. And that's the kinds of things I sort of touch in the transmissions, those kind of forbidden places. But through the voice, there's a companion who's absolutely willing to go to the worst of all places to lay that rose, to sprinkle that holy water. Another way of meeting is to come and stay at the B&B. We have, Pete and I, my husband, we have a fairy, magical B&B in the south of France. We're not just any old part of the south of France, but the Magdalene Cathar region in the French Pyrenees, close to the Spanish border. So that's quite a wow, actually.
That's a
The
big
land
wow.
there is epic and very warm and inviting, and within hours starts working on you. And of course, the other thing I work with very deeply is something called sacred body awakening. This is something that is just expanding and expanding and expanding. And it's a very hands-on approach to how to actually hold, anoint, caress other people in close proximity, in naked proximity, and absolutely be vertical. So you're constantly in a vertical, pure, sanctified state. Because as we've seen, as the year just gone, there's been a lot of movement in the tantric and spiritual worlds. Where is it that we go where we can lay back into someone's arms and not have to be on guard, where we can trust that level of connection? Being someone who's been in that environment rather a lot, Sacred Body Awakening, touch wood, by the grace of God, is that vertical chamber of absolute cleanliness, appropriateness, and the place where you can really allow yourself to start trusting other human beings again.
So powerful. Yes. And I've shared in that sacred space with you too, and highly encourage, if this calls to your heart, to find Anaiya and be with Anaiya in all of these ways. Anaiya, what is a call to action that you have for us and for humanity and for the planet and for all of us together?
I would say a call to action is to really retreat to nature, and especially when it comes to diet. I don't hardly ever say anything about diet, but I'm going to say it now.
Okay.
We have to stop eating meat and dairy. We have to stop consuming animal products, not just because I'm saying we should all be vegan and vegetarian, but because of what the planet has to endure with that level of cattle eating, reproducing, and giving off all of their emissions. So we have to turn to nature and listen, and to adjust our lifestyles massively to be harmonious with the natural world. And develop, as I said, develop that inner space. Who knows what's ahead of us in these coming years? And we have to have an anchor. We have to have something to hold on to.
Thank you, Anaiya. Thank you. And let's come into a weaving of prayer with you, the closing blessing of our time together for now.
Beloved yogis, tantrikas, meditators, beloveds, wild, ecstatic beloveds of the divine, know that we are all connected. We are woven and sewn together in our patchwork blanket of culture, community, tradition, and soul lineage. Let us draw strength from one another and rise up and be outspoken and say no when it's a no and say yes when it's a yes. Let's listen to nature. Learn to become humble and harmonious and to move forward into that pioneering position. Be brave and courageous enough to be the way shower, to lift your head above the parapet and lead from the heart with the soul towards home. May the grace of the Holy Sophia be with us all, always. Amen.
Amen. So it is. Blessed be. Thank you, Anaiya Sophia. So many blessings to you, to Pete, to your families, your communities, all your students, all your teachers, and the lineages that pour through you. Really grateful for your voice, for your presence, for your transmission. And thank you, everyone, for joining us in the way of the great embrace. So much love to each of you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Mm-hmm.